Screams from the haters, got a nice ring to it. I guess every superhero need his theme music. No one man should have all that power.
So my name is Georgia Mantle. I am a member of the Grassroots Collective, and I'm currently the Co-General Secretary and also the Indigenous Office Bearer.
Here's question number one. Imagine you had to cut $50,000 from the SRC spending. Where would you save that money?
Ooh. That would be an awful situation, obviously, and I think I would have done things, hopefully, to avoid that situation. But obviously, because of the enterprise agreements that we have with staff, those things we can't cut from there. So it would simply have to come from things like NUS affiliation, collective budgets. Because they're really the only flexible spending options.
Okay, so what would you do differently to your predecessor, Chloe?
I think there are a few things that I would do differently. I think I would have a more active presence within the office and within the organisation. I think that I would work more closely with the collectives, having already been a member of numerous collectives, and I would continue to do that. I think I would also try and be a lot more collaborative with the student body and various office bearers and departments within the organisation.
Just as a follow-up to that, so where would you say, like, specifically where Chloe failed in either being collaborative or working with the collectives, and where would you, like, specifically improve that?
Yep. I mean, I haven't really seen Chloe at various collective meetings. She doesn't really attend those sorts of things. So attendance to those would be good. I think collaboration with other student reps, like the other student reps on academic board, hasn't been great this year. And I think that I could improve that by bringing in those other student reps to things like academic board briefings.
So imagine that Oni Swar publishes an article that shames your faction and specifically singles out one of your best friends as incompetent and negligent in fulfilling their duties, as they haven't turned up to any SRC council meetings. As a DSP, what would you do?
I completely believe in like freedom of press, as long as that information wasn't actually defamatory. It is published. That's as simple as that. If I did believe that I thought it could be a defo issue, I would probably refer to the legal service, Thomas the lawyer, and if he made it clear that no, there was no risk of that, then publish away.
We've touched on this a little bit already, but other members of the SRC, including staff, have expressed concern this year that the president hasn't spent a lot of time in her office. As if you're elected, you'll be paid a full-time wage. Do you plan on being in the SRC office from 9 to 5 every day, and how are you going to manage that commitment?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a full-time job. As you said, it's being paid a full-time wage. I will be in here 9 to 5. If I need to be in here earlier, I will be in here earlier. I won't be working another job because, as I said, it's paid a full-time wage. At the end of the day, that's it. That's the job. I'll be in here.
Okay, and how does that fit with study commitments?
Yep. So at the moment, I'm planning on deferring my studies. Another alternative, though, that I'm still sort of weighing up would be to do one unit, which would then mean I would have study time in one day, whatever day that class is, but I would make up for that by either coming into the office earlier or staying later. So I would still be making up the same hours.
Okay, sure.
So in the recent quiz that we just gave you on the role of the president,
yes,
you were only able to name one committee that actually reports to the academic board. So given that these committees oversee most changes affecting students, including special consideration and the restructure, and the president is required to sit on them, do you think this speaks to your ability to lobby the university for change on those issues?
No, I don't think so. I am currently not a part of the academic board, so I think that was where I sort of got a little bit confused as to what committees actually reported to that. I do, however, know of the other committees that are a part of the university, and I think that just shows that As soon as I get into the job, I need to make sure I'm speaking to members of the academic board so I know what committees do report there. And yeah, that's just something I'll look over and fix up.
Alright, so now to some more specific questions about your policies. So, firstly, you've headed the campaign this year to have stricter regulation of lecture recordings to ensure all lectures are recorded. In 2015, an open letter from staff to the university identified that this policy does not respect individual teaching choices, and they identified a lack of consultation and privacy concerns. What do you say to these staff members?
Yeah, I've actually spoken to a few members of staff in consultation with that, and I do understand their concerns. I think that process possibly could have gone around a little bit better with consulting with staff. And actually Wednesday night at council, the suggestion was brought up that I consult with the NTEU about their position on it. I would say that there are valid concerns about privacy and things like that, but we're not trying to compromise their privacy. What we're trying to do is allow students with disabilities, students who can't always come to lectures, get access to their education. And I think that that's something that needs to be discussed a little bit further. But at the end of the day, I would say that I still am in support of full lecture recordings because, education needs to be accessible, and a lot of students do have problems coming into the classroom.
Would you continue to push for that policy if the majority of staff made it known that they opposed it?
I think it would have to be, I would go through a process of consultation with them, and if I still felt that it was in the student's best interest to continue to push for that, then yes, I would.
So the last grassroots candidate, who was President Carl Blakeney, reduced the amount of money that the SRC gave to the National Union of Students. Do you have similar plans?
No, I don't. I feel like I have plans to keep the funding of NUS around the same. I think that NUS as an organisation and as a union is important. While I think that there are fundamental issues with the organisation, specifically stemming from Labor Hack's involvement in it and Labor Unity's mismanagement of funds, I still think that organisation has great potential. We only need to look at the achievements that it made in 2014 in fighting dereg. I think that we do need a national union, and I am a unionist and I do support funding them. But if elected president, I will be making my voice very clear about the changes that I think need to be made within that organisation.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate on some of the changes that you think NUS needs to make?
Yeah, I think that the culture needs to change a lot. I think that you find that the conferences have a lot of cases of bullying and harassment. Obviously that is a slow change, unfortunately, with culture, but I do think it's one that at least someone needs to stand up and say something about. I think also just holding office bearers to account in their roles, I think, is really important and something that isn't done enough, because if someone from a faction holds a position and the rest of that faction is mainly in control of the organisation, it becomes an issue of transparency and accountability. I mean, we only need to look at the president who almost got removed from her position earlier in the year for not submitting reports for a few months. Yeah, which is a big issue.
Your campaign buzzwords include environmental. What kind of environmental reform and action have you previously been involved in, and then what are the environmental policies you would pursue as president?
Yeah, environmental movements are really close to my heart. As an Indigenous person, I think that environmental movements in Australia are intrinsically linked to Indigenous struggles. I have been involved in the Enviro Collective. This year more so. Last year I was just a little bit involved, and earlier this year I had the pleasure of going on an ASIN road trip, ASIN, the Australian Student Environment Network, and we went up to the Laird and the Pilliga, and we actually were involved in doing some non-violent direct action there, which was fantastic, but also I was able to learn a lot more about coal seam gas and the mining industry within Australia. something that I am really passionate about is continuing to lobby the university to fully divest from fossil fuels. I think that is really important. I don't want to be graduating and funding a university that funds climate change, and also by funding and investing in mining, they're investing in the destruction of sovereign Indigenous land. So that is something that I will continue to push while collaborating with the Enviro Collective.
As General Secretary this year, you negotiated the SRC's Student Services Amenities Fee allocation.
Mm-hmm.
The SRC's funding increased by substantially less than it had in previous years. Why was this?
I believe that the way the SAF system works is not very good. I've noticed in trends of the student organisations in what their allocations have been over the years, that the university seems to take this approach of taking turns of who they give increases to. So we saw last year the SRC get quite a substantial increase. I believe it was around 9% from their previous figure. Yet the year before we saw Supra get much more of an increase. I don't really believe that's a good way to go about it in terms of taking turns, but that is what I think happened. I honestly don't think we could have negotiated any better. I don't think we could have done anything more. It's just, I think, the way that the SAF system works, unfortunately.
This election, your faction is working with Socialist Alternative and promising them NUS delegates. In past elections, members of SALT have been sanctioned for aggressive campaigning. Does this mean you endorse or are okay with this kind of campaigning, and what will you do to stop it if not?
No, I'm not okay with any sort of like aggressive or bullying behaviour. At the end of the day, they're their own people. They might make wrong decisions, and I'll make it clear to them that that sort of behaviour isn't okay. But also, obviously, Pauline does a good job of that. But no, yeah, I don't accept that, and I hope that this can be as friendly an election as possible. But yeah, we'll see. I'm very much pushing all people supporting me to have a very positive outlook on this campaign and to really convey that in the way that they approach both students and other campaigners.
Just quickly, why are you working with SALT if they do have this track record of aggressive campaigning?
At the end of the day, I think that they are a part of the left. I think they contribute a lot to the student movement, and I think that they do have something to contribute to this organisation.
So, like, what is that? What are those contributions?
They're very active within the education movement, building NDAs, actions, protests, things like that. And yeah, they are very dedicated to politics and activism.
If members of SALT were excluded for aggressive campaigning this election period, would you still accept or seek out their votes on council? Yeah, I think I would. I don't think that I think the punishment of like them being excluded is sort of enough and proves that point. But yeah. Recently, the ticket Power for Mental Health deleted one of its policies after public outcry. The policy said it would direct students with mental health issues to office bearers who didn't have any mental health training. Does this imply a level of not fact-checking the practicality of the team's policies?
No, I don't think so. I spoke to Bella, who's the head of that ticket, after that, and she just expressed to me that she wrote that and the wording was wrong. She didn't mean it like that. What she wanted more was an open door policy of like, where can I be directed, or these sorts of issues. And so, yeah, we clarified that with her, and she's like, yes, I didn't mean it like that. It was just sort of a wrong wording of things. And then I did actually go in to explain to her why in the past we have had issues with that, and why last year's council then implemented a new grievance policy structure to avoid those sorts of things of unqualified office bearers, unqualified in terms of dealing with mental health issues and other grievance issues. Can't be dealing with that, but instead need to pass it on to the caseworkers.
Okay. And has that clarification been made clear to the people who were like criticising it on Facebook? Like, where has that been publicised?
I'm not too sure. I imagine Bella's put up her policy statement. I know that she felt quite bullied and harassed by the people who were openly criticising it, not because they were criticising, but the way they went about it. So I don't know if she's wanted to approach them and talk to them about it.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, one of your other policies is lobbying the uni for more scholarships for refugee students. How many scholarships do you envisage this involving?
I'm not really too sure how many students that would be able to cover. I think that's something that needs to happen within the consultation period and things like that. But what I do envisage is it being something along the lines of what Kyle established in the Freedom Ride Scholarship, where it becomes a fund, and that can, however much money is raised within that fund, determines how many students can actually apply for that scholarship and receive it.
So the vast majority of your policies are about lobbying other institutions, like the university, and for example, like the refugee scholarships, lobbying them to give them direction on how they should use their resources.
Yep.
So what would you do to change or reform the SRC itself and to use the SRC's own resources?
Do you mean in terms of the refugee scholarship point, or just more generally?
The general suite of your policies.
Yep. I think reform within the SRC does come from working closely with the office bearers, with the staff, and with the counsellors. To be honest, I think this organisation does work quite well, and also we do need to acknowledge the realistic confines that we have in our financial situations. I can think of some grand things that I would like to change within this organisation, but I do know that it just isn't possible. Something that I am thinking would be quite a good thing to do would be working on a strategic plan for the organisation to really give this organisation direction in what they do. I think that to make change within this organisation, it can't just be one person deciding that change needs to be made. It needs to go through a collaborative process with the staff of the different departments and with the counsellors and the office bearers.
Okay, so would you say that the main purpose or value of the SRC is to lobby other institutions?
I would say that that's one purpose. I would definitely say that at the end of the day, we're serving students who are part of the university. So we need to work within that structure. But at the same time, I would say another main function of this organisation is the casework and legal service that we do provide students.